going to start on the vocabulary sheet. The first thing I want to tell you is that I have basically 4 sheets of paper taped together, so work with me a little bit. I have some extra tape on the corners that you guys probably won't require. And in fact, I hate to do it, but I'm going to put a piece of tape right here because otherwise I'm going to snag this as I roll back and forth. But you guys won't have that, obviously. You guys got a nice clean sheet. So what we're going to look at is we need to divide this thing. So again, our ultimate goal is to divide this into basically 3 columns, 3 equal columns, and 5 equal rows. And I'm actually drawing on my drafting board, which I'll clean up later. But you guys are going to try to create that shape, so that little grid. Because these things are cut by hand, they're not perfectly 15 inches by 15 inches. So we end up in this kind of situation where we've got to divide this thing up and make it look right. So one of the challenges that we have is my ruler's not long enough. If you have a longer metal rule, you can use that. If you have a tape measure, actually would work really well. I just thought of that. But if there's a tape measure floating around the house, you could, expand out your tape measure and divide it up like that. I'm going to make the assumption that we don't have either one of those, that we simply just have our ruler, and we don't have anything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a blank sheet of paper, just some sort of scrap piece of paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of make my own ruler in a sense. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it's hard to see, let me just lay something underneath of it that's a different color so that you guys can see this a little bit better. All right, so I'm just going to lay my piece of paper here. I'm going to take my ruler, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along the edge of this piece of paper. And you can see that I'm trying to make this this ruler sit pretty parallel to the edge of the paper. And I'm going to come along, and at every 1 inch, I'm going to put a solid mark. We got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 is the end of the piece of paper. Now what I'm going to do is I'm quite simply going to, I'm going to overlap this by just 2 inches. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to tape my ruler to the end of this piece of paper. So I'm just grabbing a little piece of blue tape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape that right to my ruler so that it doesn't move on me. And I'm going to go ahead and use a little secondary piece of tape just to kind of help pin that down a little bit better. And now what I've got is I've basically got a ruler now that I have 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and the end of the paper is now 21. So because I didn't have a ruler long enough, what I've done is just simply made a ruler long enough. And I'm even going to put one more little piece of tape on this side to kind of keep this thing from rotating. So I'm going to make sure that I get that nice and straight. Pinch that around. All right, so I've got my little makeshift ruler. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start dividing up this piece of paper. And what ends up happening is my end of my piece of paper is here, my other end is over here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put, I know the whiteboard is hard to see the white paper on, so I want to make sure that you guys can clearly see the edge of the paper. So I'm just going to slide that under, and I'm going to slide this under. And that'll help visualize it on screen a little bit. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and line my 0 up on this edge. And there's my 0. And then I'm going to swing my 15 until my 15 comes lined up with the edge of the paper. And you can see there it is. It's not perfectly straight, but that's okay. So I've got my 0 in over here. I've got my 15 lined up over here. and get a little bit closer than that. There we go. So, and the reason why I have this thing tilted is because I'm trying to do easy math. If I actually measured this, this thing's probably going to measure 14 and let's go, I think it's probably going to be about 13 sixteenths, right? So this paper is really probably 14 by 13 sixteenths. And then I need to divide that by 3. Well, if I start taking these numbers and trying to divide 14 by 3 and then divide 13 sixteenths by 3, like this becomes a really complex division problem, right? So I'd want to probably convert this to decimal, right? So I could come here and I could say, let's see, let me pull up a calculator real quick. So I could come into my calculator and I could say, okay, I need to take 13 divided by 16 equals 0.821. So I end up with 14.8125. And so basically I'm going to take 14.8125, divide that by 3. I'm going to end up with 4.9375. And I challenge you guys, where is 0.9375 on a ruler? I don't even know. I need to convert it to a fraction, and I could do it by basically saying -4, divide this by 16, and so it just becomes too much work, right? So quite simply, if I asked you guys to take 15 and divided it by 3, you guys are going to go, oh, it's 5. So if I just set my ruler at the angle to force it to end up being 15, because I'm really just worried about vertical lines, right? So I don't really care about this for now. So I'm going to line that up at 15, put that at 0, and then I'm going to put a mark at every 5 inches. So I'm going to come over on my ruler. I'm going to put a little tick mark at 5. I'm going to put a little tick mark at 10. And then obviously 15 is at the edge of the paper and 0 is at the edge of the paper. And you can see now I've created a column, column, column. Those are going to be equally divided. So I'm going to move my ruler off my paper. Grab the square. You guys probably have a shorter triangle than this, so you might have to do it multiple times. What I'll do is to kind of simulate that for you, I will use my shorter triangle to make it fair for you guys, to show you that I'm going to get rid of these for now. So again, this paper is going to be hard to work with, but we'll make it work. So again, guys, rule, right? So get your parallel edge where it needs to be. Take your pencil, put it on your mark, slide your tool into your pencil, hold it, and go ahead and just draw your vertical line. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and slide this down, put my pencil back on my line, slide the tool into the pencil, extend that line down, and then my drafting board's a little bit smaller than your guys' drafting board, so I'm actually going to do it on the bottom edge. Again, pencil back on the line, slide the tool into the pencil, and I'm going to go ahead and extend that line out the rest of the way. Okay? Same thing's going to apply over here. I'm going to start with my pencil right on the spot, slide the tool into the pencil, bring that down, pencil on the line, slide the tool into the pencil, extend that down. Last but not least, pencil back on the line, slide the tool into the pencil, and vertical line up. So now, I basically ignore that seam in the paper, but you can see here I got 1, 2, 3 equal spots. I can verify that in many different ways. I could just take my tool, kind of put a little mark on the tool. You can barely see it, but there it is. And I'm just going to slide that over and go, yep, that's the one. Yep, that's the one. So that's equally divided. Clean off the tool. There we go. All right, now, same thing's going to apply coming this direction. I've got to divide this up into 5 separate spaces. And again, we go back to that sort of math, right? So if I measured this and this thing measured 14 13/16, and I had to divide that, if I had to divide that by 5, we end up with a whole lot of math again. So it would be 14.8125 divided by 5. It's going to give you some number that you're not going to like. That's going to be hard to read on the calculator. So then I look at it and I go, well, what's an easy number to divide by 5? Well, 15, right? So if we go 15 divided by 5, we're going to come up with 3 inches. Okay, as sloppy as can be, but you guys get the point. That was meant to be a 3. Let's try that again. There we go. So it's going to be 3 inches. So I'm going to do the same thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my ruler. Now, this is going to be a little challenging because my drafting board is, I can't slide my ruler out of the way enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this down and catch the edge of the paper. And you can see here, I got an issue. This is much longer than 15 inches, so I don't know what happened. So here we go. We still need to divide this thing by 3, and that's a problem because 15 doesn't reach, and so I can't do that. So then I ask myself, well, what's the next number on the chain that's easily divisible by 3? And so I'm going to instantly jump up to 18. 18 divided by 3 is 6. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to put my 18 down here at the edge of the paper. And I'm going to swing my ruler until my 0. I want my 18 down here, and I want my 0 up here. And I'm basically just going to keep swinging this thing until I get it exactly where I want it. And again, my drafting board is a little bit smaller than yours, so you should be able to have a little bit of an easier time doing this. Okay, so I've got my 18, I've got my 0, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark at 6. Oh, I'm going to mark at, wait a minute. I did that wrong. I'm sorry, guys. We're dividing this by 5, not by 3. So 18 divided by 5, that's not going to work, right? So we got to backtrack a little bit. That was my mistake. I forgot that we were dividing it by 5. So oh, excuse me for a second. I got a drink. Okay, so we've got to come up with a different plan here. Sorry about that. So we could actually take this to 20 because 20 is easily divisible by 5. So that was my mistake. So backtrack a little bit. Forgive me for that. We've got to get something that we can divide easily. So I'm going to use 20 divided by 5, which is going to be 4 inches. So I'm going to have to put a mark every 4 inches. So I'm going to line up 20 here. I'm going to line up 0 down here. So I'm going to slide back around and redo this. My apologies. I lost track of where we were at. So here we go. We're going to line that up. I've got 20 here. I've got almost 0 there. Get that a little bit better than that. There we go. So I've got 0 here. I've got 20 here. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So I'm going to put a mark at 4, 8, 12, 16. Okay. So I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to start here at 16. Put a little mark. Put a mark at 12. Put a mark at 8. Put a mark at 4. And there we go. So I've got 4, 8, 12, 16. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my ruler for now. And here we go. Here's my mark. put my pencil on the mark, slide the tool into my pencil, go ahead and just strike a line across. Come up to my next mark, pencil on, slide the tool in, mark across. Pencil on, tool in, mark across. And last but not least, pencil on, tool in, mark across. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our paper is divided up, 3 columns, 5 rows. Okay. All right. My next step is I want to start laying out what this little block will look like. And there's multiple ways to do that. One, again, guys, I'm real big into getting you guys to use like scraps. So this is what I just had taped to my ruler, which I no longer need. So I'm going to go ahead and utilize this. And train yourself to start using scraps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the edge here, and I'm just going to put a mark here. And then I'm going to line up the edge up top, and I'm going to put a mark here. And what that does is it kind of shows me how big my index card is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of fold this, put a crease in it. And I'm just doing this to help me space this out. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm basically going to roll this over, get it lined up. And again, these things don't have to be perfect. This is just a rough draft. But, well, let me get a little bit closer than that. So there we go. That there is going to be my mark, essentially. Another way I could do that, quite simply, would be to line it up on my drafting board, or my parallel edge, slide my parallel edge over, and then what I can do is I can actually hold this down, and I should be able to kind of rip this thing up and off. And then I'm going to do the same thing going the other direction. I'm going to line this up, get it lined up with my mark, hold this down, and then just kind of get that out of here. So now I've basically created a piece of paper the same size as my card. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start, like, how do I want to lay this thing out? So I'm going to put something yellow underneath of it so you can see. You know, I'm kind of thinking that my term is going to be here. My definition is going to be here. And I might want 2 lines for definition. I might want 3 lines for definition. Okay, so I'm going to say 3 lines. And then I'm going to have like my drawn image here. Okay, and what I can do is then, since I've kind of got this laid out, what my thought process is here, I'm actually going to go ahead and utilize my ruler at this point to start trying to make this a little bit a little more precise. I'm just peeling the tape off of my straight edge, or off my ruler, and I can look at this and I can kind of go, okay, well, how much space was I leaving for my term? And if I look at this, I kind of had about a 1/2 inch. And then I did about a quarter, about a quarter, about a quarter. I probably should go a little bit bigger than that. So, you know, you can kind of start to think about where you want these. So maybe it goes 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to go every 3/8 of an inch. And that looks good to me. So 1, 2, 3/8. 3/8. 3/8, right? So that looks pretty good. So that will give me 3 lines for my definition. So what I did was I came down a 1/2 inch. I came down 3/8. I came down 3/8. I came down 3/8 because I think that would look really good. And that still gives me about 1 inch and a quarter-ish, 1 1/8 for my drawn object, which I think will be plenty of space. So now I've pretty much determined that I want this to be a 1/2. And then I want it to be 3/8, and then I want it to be 3/8, and then I want it to be 3/8. And that's going to give me a line, and a line, and a line, right? So I'm basically making a lined piece of notebook paper, and then it's going to allow me to do a drawn image down here, and maybe a found image here, or vice versa, right? So that's what I want my index card to look like. And I basically just did that on a little scrap piece of paper. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start transferring that to my actual work. Okay, and for comfort reasons, I'm not going to work on the top one. I'm actually going to work on this next one down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start lining up my ruler up here. I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit more of a pencil tip on my pencil. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and measure down that 1/2 inch. So I'm just following my own blueprint that I just made on a sketch paper. Then I'm going to come down 3/8 of an inch. Then I'm going to come down 3/8 of an inch. Then I'm going to come down 3/8 of an inch. And so I got 1/2 inch, 3/8, 3/8, 3/8. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and draw a line. Draw lines, multiple. And I'm going to utilize my parallel edge. And again, guys, I'm going to draw these a little bit darker so that you can see them on screen. You guys would want to draw these really light, just to kind of be able to visualize them. Or so you can visualize them, I'm drawing them a fair bit darker. So here we go. Pencil down. Slide the tool in. Okay, so what I've now established are these horizontal rules, and I'm basically trying to get one block lined out. And so the next thing I want to look at is, I kind of want to make this look real nice. I want to have like a nice vertical line to start all of my font, all of my text. So, I look at it and I think that's about a good gap. So I'm just going to measure that and see about what that is. And you know what? I'm going to go with 3/8 of an inch. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure off of here, and I'm going to come in 3/8 of an inch. And now that I'm looking at it over here, it's probably a little bit big. So I'm going to make a field adjustment and go to 1/4 of an inch. So I came 1/4 of an inch in, and I put a mark. I'm going to come to this one. I'm going to come 1/4 of an inch in. I'm going to put a mark. And I'm going to come to this one. I'm going to put a mark, 1/4 of an inch in. Okay? For sake of time, I'm going to cheat a little bit and use a bigger triangle. I know you guys probably don't have one this size, but sorry. So I'm going to put my pencil here, slide the tool in, go ahead and give myself a vertical line, and I'm going to go ahead and extend that all the way down. Same thing's going to apply here. Pencil tip on, slide the tool in, give myself a nice vertical line. One more time. Pencil tip on, tool up against the parallel edge, slide the tool into the pencil, give myself a nice vertical line again. And so I'd also have to flip this over and extend these up. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that real quick. So back on the mark. Back on the mark. Back on the mark. Okay, so you can kind of see now I've got my first row kind of mapped in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to need horizontal lines across here and across here and across here and across here, right? So this is what I mentioned the other day about you guys can start making tools. So again, I'm going to take a scrap, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up on that top mark. Actually, I'm going to use a piece of trace paper so it makes a little more sense. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just put a little mark right at the top line, right at the first line, right at the second line, third, fourth, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to transfer those marks up here. So I'm going to actually just rip this off, and this will make complete sense in just a moment. If you have a pair of scissors, use scissors. Okay. So what I've made now is a template. So I can actually move this, put that on the top, and I can put a little mark there, 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 slide it down, there, 3, 4, slide it down to the next line, 1, 2, 3, 4, slide it down to the next one, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Trash. Now I've got all these little dots, and quite simply, I'm not going to do all of these, but you guys can see how quick this would actually transition out. And again, guys, I'm going real dark on my guidelines. You guys are going to want to go super light because you're going to want to erase them when you're done. And I'm not going to do the very, very top one because I'd have to stand up over the drafting board. But there are all your guidelines that I think you'll need for this. And so what you're going to do from that point is, up here is going to be your term. So as you come in here, you're going to want to kind of hold it close to that line, maintain your spacing, whatever it might be. Same over here. Once you start doing all of these, you're going to start to get a feel for what this is going to look like. Okay? And then your definitions are obviously going to get lettered out here. All the way down the page. I hope that helps. Email me if you got any questions, but that should get you caught up on this part. And the thought is that you guys need to have, obviously all 15 of your terms and definitions lettered out. It's a lot, but work on it. You'll want to do your drawn image. I don't know what the word would be, but, use the drafting tools. You guys have them now. So, maybe this is something like this, and the image was, formal balance, right? So there we go, formal balance. Make them look good. Take your time on the little drawings. Again, try to make it look very consistent. Care about your craft. Care about the way that the product looks. Think of this as more of an art project. This is, so to clarify real quick, the terms are very important to know. The layout is also very important to know. Starting to focus on the craft is also very important. So this, if you think about the way that this would be addressed in another course, maybe it would be a word matching vocabulary quiz. To me, this is probably way more valuable, and I think you guys will appreciate this more, learning the terms in this way, having to draw a term and justify it, right? So there's a lot of elements that you're doing on this. There's a lot of minor assessments that I can make. Were you able to divide up your sheet properly? Did your line work look good? Did your lettering look good? Were you able to format it properly? So, and that's all coming even before I say, were you able to define the terms properly, right? So there's a lot of elements that are going into this one little project. And it's a lot of work. I think you guys are realizing, like, this took me 20 some minutes to just sketch this out. So anyways, I hope that helps. I will see you guys